Forry, there's a famous sort of caricature of you as Frankenstein, right? And you called yourself the Ackerman monster for a long time. So do you particularly identify with the character of the Frankenstein monster?
A little on the dim side. Oh, yes.
So do you identify with the Frankenstein monster?
Yes. One time I took an 8,700-mile drive, zigging and zagging all over the United States. There were 1,300 young famous monster fans all anxious to meet me, so I met as many as possible. I've never forgotten that I went 35 miles out of my way to Niles, Michigan, because a young fan had written saying, "Mr. Ackerman, if you will visit me, I'll have 50 here for you." I thought, well, I can't disappoint 50. There was one boy and 49 sheep. And speaking of Universal's Phantom of the Opera, one night wife and I saw that we're not going to get to visit some fans till about 2 in the morning, and I phoned ahead and I said, I guess we better wait till tomorrow. And they said, oh, no, we've been waiting for you all day, and we'll be glad. So they took my wife and myself up under the roof. They had created a little theater with the chairs they had got from an abandoned movie house, and they showed us Universal's Phantom of the Opera. My wife was dead tired from driving all day, and so they brought her a nice steaming cup of tea. And just as Mary Philbin took the mask off the monster, my wife fell asleep and the tea went into her lap, and Lon Chaney never got such a scream. Vividly, I'd like to turn back the clock and relive it for you. As I approach my 90th birthday, I'm probably one of the individuals still alive who was at the premiere of Frankenstein in 1931. I was living in San Francisco at the time, took a streetcar downtown, got off in front of the Orpheum Theater, and I was surprised to see an ambulance in front of the theater. Well, I went and paid my 21 cents for adult admission, and as I entered the foyer of the theater, I was astonished to see a couple of nurses in white uniforms, and I thought, gee, what's going on? What kind of a picture am I getting into? I had not yet read Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley's Gothic classic Frankenstein at that time. Well, I took my seat pretty near the front, and the film started. I recall that Edward Van Sloan, who played Dr. Gallman in it, curtains part, and he addressed the audience, and he said something like, the producer of this film, Carl Laemmle, feels it would be somewhat unkind to subject you to the content of this film if you are easily frightened. It's possible that you will be horrified. Well, if you insist on staying, I warn you. And then the film started. It was in black and white. We didn't have Technicolor yet. But they did an unusual thing. They were able to place a colored gelatin in front of the projector. And in the daytime scenes, everything was kind of a glowing daylight color. And in the evening scenes, they put a blue gel over the projection. And in the very eerie scenes, it was all green. And finally, at the climax, in the burning mill, it went red. Well, I was engrossed in the film, and all of a sudden, down near the front, a lady on the aisle screamed and got up and ran out of the theater. Well, everybody was petrified. Now, you know, nowadays, after you've seen a film, the lights go up and the theater clears out. But in 1931, you could enter a theater at any time, and you could stay and see a picture the second time. Well, I was glued to my seat, so I was seeing it for the second time. And all of a sudden, a lady in a certain scene screamed, jumped out of her seat and ran out of the theater. Well, I stayed to see it a third time. I learned about Hollywood hype. Like to add, in 1939, there was a little theater on the outskirts of Beverly Hills. The manager didn't have any new picture to show, so he took a chance and he revived Frankenstein and Dracula. There were such incredible crowds that he ran it non-stop, 24 hours a day, night and day. People were flooding in to see this revival, and I believe it influenced the studio to make a third Frankenstein, the son of Frankenstein.